Occasionally written under the pseudonym Michael Seriphian, Malachi Martin was an Irish Catholic priest originally ordained by the Jesuits. In 1967, Martin had received his first Guggenheim Fellowship. Among his most significant works were the scribal character of the Dead Sea Scrolls, written in 1958, and Hostage to the Devil, written in 1976, which dealt with Satanism, demonic possession, and exorcism. The Final Conclave, written in 1978, was a warning against alleged Soviet spies in the Vatican. His novels and non-fiction books were frequently critical of the Catholic Church, which he believed had failed to act on the third prophecy revealed by the Virgin Mary at Fatima. Martin also served as religious editor for William F. Buckley's National Review. Martin claimed that Pope John XXIII and Paul VI were Freemasons during a certain period, and that photographs and other detailed documents proving this were in possession of the Vatican State Secretariat. He claimed that Archbishop Annibale Bugnini was a Freemason and that Agostino Casaroli, a long-time Cardinal Secretary of the State, was an atheist. In an article for the Fatima Crusader, Martin wrote, quote, "Anybody who is acquainted with the state of affairs in the Vatican in the last 35 years is well aware that the Prince of Darkness has had and still has his surrogates in the court of St. Peter in Rome." End quote. Martin had first made reference to a diabolic rite held in Rome in his 1990 non-fiction bestseller about geopolitics in the Vatican, called The Keys of This Blood, Pope John Paul II versus Russia and the West for Control of the New World Order, in which he wrote, quote, "Most frighteningly, for Pope John Paul II, he had come up against the irremovable presence of a malign strength in his own Vatican and in certain bishop chanceries. It was what knowledgeable churchmen called the superforce. Rumours, always difficult to verify, tied its installation to the beginning of Pope Paul VI's reign in 1963. Indeed, Paul had alluded somberly to the smoke of Satan which has entered the sanctuary, an oblique reference to an enthronement ceremony by Satanists in the Vatican. Besides, the incidence of satanic paedophilia rites and practices was already documented among certain bishops and priests as widely dispersed as Turin in Italy and South Carolina in the United States. The cultic acts of satanic paedophilia are considered by professionals to be the culmination of the fallen archangel's rites." End quote. Martin revealed still more about this purported ritual in one of his last books called Windswept House, a Vatican novel, written in 1996. In this novel, he described a ceremony called, quote, the enthronement of the fallen archangel Lucifer, supposedly held in St. Paul's Chapel in the Vatican, but linked with concurrent satanic rites in the US. On June 29, 1963, barely a week after the election of Paul VI, the ceremony was supposedly linked with concurrent satanic rites in South Carolina, in evident reference to Albert Pike's Scottish Rite of the Southern Jurisdiction. According to the New American, Martin confirmed that the ceremony did indeed occur as he had described. Quote, "Oh yes, it is true, very much true," end quote. The magazine reported him saying, quote, "But the only way I could put that down into print is in novelistic form," end quote. As Martin details, quote, "Suddenly it became unarguable that now, during this papacy, the Roman Catholic organization carried a permanent presence of clerics who worshipped Satan and liked it, of bishops and priests who sodomized boys and each other, of nuns who performed the, quote, black rites of Wicca, and who lived in lesbian relationships every day, including Sundays and holy days. Acts of heresy and blasphemy and outrage and indifference were committed and permitted at holy altars by men who had been called to be priests. Sacrilegious actions and rites were not only performed at Christ's altars, but had the connivance, or at least the tacit permission of certain cardinals, bishops, archbishops. In total number, they were a minority. Anything from 1 to 10% of church personnel. But of that minority, many occupied astoundingly high positions or rank. The facts that brought the Pope to a new level of suffering were mainly two: the systematic organizational links, the network, in other words, that had been established between certain clerical homosexual groups and satanic covens, and the inordinate power and influence of that network. End quote. According to Martin, some of his work involved intelligence gathering behind the Iron Curtain and throughout the Middle East, and at times threatening cardinals with blackmail if they didn't want to do what Cardinal Beer and the Pope John XXVI wanted from them at the council. Quote, "I saw cardinals sweating in front of me," Martin recalled, "and I began to enjoy it." End quote. Rumours appearing on various Catholic or sedevacantist websites and magazines allege that Martin had Jewish ancestry, descended from Iberian Jews who migrated to Ireland and Great Britain in the 15th century, and accused him of being an Israeli spy. According to Heschel, Martin was serving as a mole inside the Cardinal Beer's administration, and feeding restricted information and secret documents to the AJC. According to Heschel's biographer Edward Kaplan, through a mixture of motives, quote, lofty and ignoble, Heschel arranged for Roger W. Strauss's printing company to publish a, quote, kiss and tell book by Martin titled The Pilgrim, about the internal workings of Vatican II, in hope that it would influence the deliberations.
Because this is the Luciferian wish. They want to completely de-supernaturalize Roman Catholic teaching so that we become good, unsupernaturally motivated human beings, and therefore accede to their plans for humanity, which are very dire plans. Fritz, let me tell you. We have a large amount of Catholics today who practice contraception in America. Just talk about America alone. And 66% practice contraception. 66%. The latest figure. We have a large number of them who practice abortion. There's nothing wrong with abortion. We have, by the way, many Catholic families with 2 children. They have no more children. You know why? They've undergone sterilization. Either he's had a vasectomy or she's had her tubes tied up. As a deliberate act. So they're living in sin, and they have joined, therefore, a thing which is very, very important. But I want you to gaze out over a vast horizon in order to see this. The biggest tendency today in medicine, in the medical field, in the health field, is to prolong life as long as possible. And to push it beyond 60 to 70 to 80 to 90 the term of life. Their aim is to make it perpetual. And now the medical theory is that if you can replace all the organs, including the brain, but all the other organs, so eyes, chest, genitalia, lungs, pancreas, all the organs, you live forever. To do that, you need replacements. To get replacements, you need to harvest the organs. And therefore the biomedical aim of research today is to develop what they call, not humanoids, subhumans. Anencephalics, with no brain, but with perfectly good hearts, perfectly good cornea, perfectly good ears, perfectly good pancreas, perfectly good everything. And to harvest them like you would. So to harvest them like donors.
So this would take, let's say, it would be the next stage past abortion.
That's right.
Because let's say a baby in the womb doesn't have, let's say, all what you might be able to need for this prolongation of life.
No, it's next stage, but accustoming people to the idea of killing the babies, of liquidating human beings who are too old, euthanasia and abortion at one end and the other end. Bring it down to the living. And for today, there's no doubt about it that if you have Parkinson's disease, you're treated with matter taken from fetuses, living. They have to get the fetus alive to cut it out. Tuberculosis is the same thing. It's harvesting from a living baby. That's why they have living babies delivered. For that reason alone, they pay somebody to have a baby so they can harvest its organs. The cosmetic factories, the big cosmetic names that make your powder and your creams that are used in cosmetics, they're all using fetal matter.
So really,
harvested from living babies. So this is, the point I'm making to you is this: anybody who supports abortion, anybody who has got tubes bound up, a woman, or has his vasectomy performed, anybody joining that stream of development is moving humanity closer and closer to this development of the subhuman, because they're going to have that, whether we like it or not, and harvest it for organs, so that your eyes will never give out, and your heart will never give out, and your genitals will never give out, and your pancreas will never give out, and your kidneys will never go. We can replace everything. Liver, kidneys, everything. We can deliver everything. All your veins, we can replace the veins. We have beautiful veins in these people, because they're only subhumans. They're not human.
So part of the purpose then, part of the Luciferian agenda is to reshape the church so that it's no longer a barrier to this new morality.
It's just a willing nourisher of the new world order, of this order of privileged human beings who can develop their happy paradise on earth longer and longer and longer. The church at the present moment is the big obstacle. It's against abortion, against contraception. It should preach that there's only one aim in life, that's to get to heaven. He said, forget it. This is the pernicious myth that we've got to get rid of. And we get rid of that by getting at the center, the central teacher, and that's the Pope. That's the papacy. That's the priest. That's the cardinal. That's the Roman congregation. That's the diocesan rule. Corrupt the bishops, corrupt the cardinals, corrupt the Pope. Have a Pope on our side.